I am here with William Sorrow. I am Nicholas Dean. We're going to be talking about the taxation problem in America. To start off, I'm going to tell you the definition of taxation. Do you know what the general idea or the definition in your own mind of taxation? Doesn't have to be right, just your own opinion.
I'm pretty sure taxes are basically what is used to fund the government and government-sponsored projects and within to make the country better.
Yep.
That's what I know of as it is.
That is actually a pretty good definition. My definition from what I found on Google is the practice of government collecting money from its citizens to pay for public services. So it is a widespread problem in the United States, especially with the new President Trump and with talks of changing things up. So I'm going to talk about the two sides of the problem. There's obviously it has to be sacrifices we have to take if there will be a taxation. But some will benefit from it, and that's what I'm going to talk about. Talk about small business owners, higher corporations, etc. But I want you guys to pull out an article, and I'm going to show you this right now. This is just a start. This is one of the reasons people are sick of the taxes they pay, and that's why they want lower taxes. So this is topicked: Tom Price billed taxpayers $300,000 for private jets because he doesn't like being inconvenienced. So pretty much to summarize, this is Congressman Tom Price. He pretty much doesn't like going on, like let's say like JetBlue or commercial flights. So he decided, these are short trips, by the way. These are only in the Northeast. He's taken trips to, let's say, New Hampshire, Maine, Pennsylvania, and D.C., which is, they say, like 140 miles from D.C. So obviously that's a problem. You just can't do that. That's taking people's hard work money and using it for your benefit. So that's one scandal that was going on, and of course that's extremely wrong. I want to get your opinion on that after you read it completely. It is utterly disappointing that that's what goes on behind the scenes, but
I want to know like how he got away with it. Like what did he do to have Congress agree that it would be okay to be for people to be taxed for this reason? Like how does that work?
So after this article, I did my own research. Pretty much he lied, and they didn't do any investigation of like what was really going on.
Okay.
They took his word to it, and it was just pretty much him and his I guess you can say secretaries in wherever destination you want to go. So yeah, it was slid under the table and it was forgot about until they finally saw that he was spending a little bit too much money and asking too many times, and they did their own research of actually where he was going. And next thing you know, it's on global news. So yeah, that's one topic I want to talk about with you guys. Next is going to be the problem with the income tax. As you can pull that out right here. So I'm only going to go through a couple of them. So the main one is if it's too expensive. I'm going to read word from word from this article itself. So this is from the U.S. Times. So the complexity of the code costs a lot of money, more than $310 billion last year in paperwork alone. Small businesses often pay more in paperwork expenses than the taxes they pay. So yeah, that's obviously one problem. The next one is really it's unfair. Income is commonly double and triple taxed. Married people pay higher rates than singles living together, and Congress' mistake in failing to index alternative minimum tax for inflation now threatens to define as wealthy those with little as $80,000 a year in income. So how just can be a tax that rewards those who hide income either here or offshore have to tax lobbyists to broker special deals. So the list goes on. That's another problem. Also, people say it's corrupted or it hides costs to government. It's intrusive. It makes us, what they said, it is into modern day slurs. So you can read that on your own. I'm going to continue. Well, as you read, is there anything that really opened your eyes into anything?
Yeah, like from the perspective of, realistically, people are going to be paying taxes. It's been that way since the beginning of this country.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things on here says it's intrusive, and it says once upon a time it was no one's business how much money we made or how we spent. And from that perspective, you could say that realistically, from the start of time, you always know how much someone's making, and they should be taxed on that, truthfully. I think it comes to the point where, I agree that some of these, it is unfair that wealthy people can get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if you live in a country, I think it is a government's responsibility to know how much you made. And I think it's been that way from the start. So that's one of the things that I kind of question a little bit.
So how about, do you question how and what they pay with our taxes? Like, I'm going to name a couple off just to get brain working a little bit. So taxation funds, support police, courts, military, roads, and many other things. Honestly, that the public might not even know about. So do you agree on if they spend it in the right way?
Well, I do agree on that, but I'm more coming across this as it's intrusive. That's something that, like, when you make the money that you make, it's truly right to own up to the money that you have made. And if you aren't making the money that you're supposed to be making, then I think you should be labeled as someone that should not have to pay as much taxes. And that's where I think taxes and the government being involved can actually be a good thing.
Of course.
So that's the only thing. I do agree that they are getting spent the wrong way, but at the same time, it is important for the government to know how much we are making, truthfully.
Of course.
That's the only thing I really got to question.
And that's really why that Tom Price article really standed out to me, because he spent them the wrong way. That's people what they worked really hard for. So I'm going to continue on to the next topic. Really, it's talking about the media, what he says, fake news, and how people just really, his reputation is, in the end, is really going to prevent him from doing what his main goal is. So this is an article from David Leinhart, and it says Donald Trump wants to raise your taxes. And he comes from an op-ed standpoint, and in his own opinion, he backs it up by saying, this is one statistic, 17% of households earning between $50,000 and $150,000 would see their taxes rise immediately, and households earning $150,000 to $250,000, the share is probably around 35%. So, as you know, $50,000 to $250,000 is classified as the middle class. And David believes after we get this taxation, that taxes will go up for the middle class. Then we have this next article by pretty much an opposite. It's not even an opinion. There's statistics back behind this. It's why President Trump's tax plan is a win for all Americans by Nicole Holt. So she pretty much talks about the pros, maybe that people want to hear with small businesses. So this is a fact, statistic. So the standard deduction nearly doubled to $24,000 for married couples filing jointly, and $12,000 for single filers. And the 7 tax brackets under a current law would be replaced with 3 brackets set up 12, 25, and 35%. So I just threw a lot of numbers at you. Pretty much it talks about having married couples, if they had a kid, let's say they have 1 kid, and it goes down, there's a set price, 2 goes down a little bit lower, 3, etc. So that's what that's talking about. So then the corporate taxation would be reduced to 35 to 20%, and a special 25% tax rate will be created to income from small and family-owned pass-through businesses. So what I'm getting at really is there's always, like I said in the beginning, there's always some pros and cons to every big tax movement or government movement that's made. But she's trying to say that it's going to benefit. You know, Donald Trump went on. This was a month ago. How he went on that Harvey show, and he really emphasized how he's gonna the tax deduction, how he's gonna help out the middle class and small business owners, and he really believes that they deserve it. But some people really think that it's not going to benefit them, and I don't expect you to really understand because there's a lot of statistics behind it. But really, what do you predict, common sense wise, what is going to happen if this does, and if Congress does pass this? What do you think will happen?
Well, if the numbers are correct with what you said,
do you think it's going to benefit? People are saying this is what I'm saying. He has a bad rep. People think it's going to benefit his friends that are the upper class, and they're going to end up getting the tax deduction. So, do you really think that would happen?
Truthfully, I think there's always a chance of that happening, just because anything can happen. But based on the statistics that you have shown me and read to me, and what I've read, I think it is going to actually benefit all across. You know, only time will tell, but I think it's important to have an open mind about things. So that's where I stand on that.
Yep, and you really don't get a lot of people who are in the middle of the road. There's always that one side, and like you said, he has a bad rep, and people take that into when they want to know or learn about him. It's always in the back of their head. So it's really unfortunate. Then we move on to the article by John T. Harvey, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. He discusses the common ground on both the good of the taxation and the bad. So, really, Will, what's your middle ground on this?
I think the middle ground would be to really get both sides of what is going on and focus on meeting in the middle between, if you look at it, the taxation is going to be represented by the left side and the right side being the Democrats and the Republicans. And I think the best thing for the country and for the whole would be to come to an agreement between the two. Not even just come to an agreement, maybe give and take both sides of what they truly believe in. And I think that's one of the main things that we have to focus on with taxation, is that we go through these dramatical swings and who gets taxed, who doesn't get taxed, and it's really hard to find the facts on it. And I think one of the main things that our government should do is, find a way where you can meet in the middle. Maybe not tax as much on the lower class, like they say. A lot of the Democrats believe in free college. Well, I mean, realistically, the Republicans would never let that happen. But maybe come to an agreement where I just read an article today about how they were giving a tax break to companies that are large manufacturing companies, and that all of the debt could be erased for college students if we completely took it away and taxed the larger corporations harder and much harder.
And you can go bankrupt, and that debt's still going to be with you.
Exactly. And I think that's where, that's a perfect example of you can't erase all the debt for college students. I mean, it's not going to happen. You can't just wipe it out like that. That's completely something that's one-sided. But maybe meet in the middle somewhere 50-50 is where I think the government needs to focus on, and that's really what I believe is the common ground.
Yeah, and one poll does state that the approval rating of this taxation plan is only 30%. So it's really not a popular decision with all these articles coming back out. But going back to the common ground, that's exactly what John T. Harvey pointed out. Trying to find a way that both sides are happy in the end. And for Americans to really back Donald Trump up is probably a common ground. Do you have any further comments, or are you really, what are you really for regarding this? And what did the stats teach you about with this taxation plan?
Really, all I've learned is, I've learned a lot actually, but one of the main things I'd like to focus on is the idea of that there isn't as much of a common ground as there should be, and that's one of the things that I think focuses on taking from one side and giving to the other, and vice versa, and being able to truly look across the table at someone who disagrees with you and finding something that there is something you can agree on. Not everyone's going to be happy, but I think that you've showed that, no one's going to be happy, but in the long term, it's going to be best for Americans as a whole.
That's where I'm going to end off. Thank you.